meet you. I'm Clodagh. How are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know I'm the last one, so we can hopefully have a bit of a chilled out one. Hugely enjoyed this series. Absolutely fantastic. And you were busy. So you were Vincent, you were Eric, and you were exec producing.
And who's the character? Bug and Mushland in Good Day Sunshine. Yeah, no, I mean, I like to keep busy. I like to be involved, and that was one of the draws, I guess, of this as an ask. It's just so much going on as an actor to get your teeth into.
Is there one that you particularly enjoy more than the others? The producer.
Vincent was, that's the main meal, and it was a really rich, complex character. Beautiful themes around parenting and being an unparented child, unloved child, really, who'd had a mental health crisis and is veering towards another, and in the process setting fire to every bridge as he goes. It's just a really painful odyssey to a more approachable and, I think, authentic version of himself. He moves away from some of the causality behind his behaviour at the beginning of the show and into a world where he can actually start to be a good father again. And that really appealed. I mean, I had the first three and then a pitch from Abby, so we didn't know exactly how that was going to manifest when we first met and when I signed on to it, and I'm thrilled at the way it turned out. And then this incredible cast of actors, old and new, and when you have a dance partner like Abby, who's just pure authenticity, utterly enlightened and just a gorgeous human being, arguing and falling apart in spectacular fashion in a relationship in the first weeks of a shoot become remarkably easy.
It's one way to get to know someone anyway.
But I sat back and watched the whole thing. There's an awful lot that I'm watching that I'm not in, so I did get to go home, which was kind of key because of it being in Budapest and having a young family myself. So actually it was nice. All busyness jokes aside, I was able to withdraw and see a lot of my own family.
That's so key as well, especially for these ones with the tone. The tone.
Well, and also I think it's just the immediate switch off. I had it anyway. I think the minute you step home, you're just like, these people need you in a completely different way. They're not interested in what you've just done at work. You have to be present for them now. So it just goes. And then you put the costume on it the next day, and then you take it off again. You put it on again. And to begin with, it's difficult, and leaving alone is difficult. Those transitional moments, but when you're in the flow of it, it's remarkably enjoyable to step into the deep kind of miasma of what makes us human in its worst and most profound ways, and then sort of come up from that for air and go, oh, okay. In my case, a lot of time in a hotel, or going to a gym, or learning lines the next day, or watching a lot of. I watched a lot of screeners as well because I have to vote for BAFTA and Academy, so that was a lovely way to unwind. Actually, it was great and lovely to watch other people's work and be inspired by that on the journey.
I just want to ask you as well, obviously you play like a dad whose child has gone missing. It's not the first time we've seen this story, but I was just wondering for you personally, now when you see them stories come up on the news, do you kind of look at it in a different way?
No, I don't. I still have the same feeling. It's it's a very individual journey he goes on it for reasons having seen the whole thing. I won't spoil it, but I think there's a very different interaction as a fictional character to me as a father in the world, which it just fills me with dread. And I would urge parents who are maybe wary of watching a drama like this that there is a great note of salvation and redemption to this story. It is about love. It's about correcting the failures in our systems, whether they be the structures at home or in society that let the most vulnerable of us, especially children, fall through the net. There's a good turn. There's a good turn to all the characters. So it's a hard watch, but it rewards it. Rewards
and
it.
there's fun elements to it too. But I have been told to wrap up. But thank you so much for chatting with me, and huge congratulations on this. Hopefully see you again soon. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
And she achieves her childhood dream. What's your childhood dream?
To wear Britney Spears' Versace dress.
We're here at the It Ends With Us premiere, a new movie starring Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Brandon Sklenar, and more, coming to theaters on August 9th. And it's based on best-selling author Colleen Hoover's book, and we're about to talk to the stars. What was it like for you to read Lily's character for the first time, someone who's both a strong woman and a victim of domestic abuse, and how did you bring her to life?
Well, I think she's so much more than just a victim of domestic abuse. That's something that happened to her, but nothing any one person did to her can define her. And she's a woman of multitudes. She's an entrepreneur, a shop owner, an artist, a mother, a daughter, a friend, a sister, a lover. She's all of these things. And so to get to play a woman who experiences so many things and all the colors of the human emotion was just such a gift. So I thank Colleen Hoover for that.
And she achieves her childhood dream. What's your childhood dream?
To wear Britney Spears' Versace dress.
Hi, Queen. You look amazing. Everyone. watching you come down, you're like floating. You're so graceful.
I do feel like I'm on a cloud.
Seriously, amazing. Well, I saw that you and Blake actually handmade some floral jeans for Brandon.
We ironed on those patches.
That's amazing. What has it been like to work with Blake both on and off set as you've gone through this process?
She is an angel. I literally can't say a bad thing about her. She doesn't have a bad bone in her body. She's been so giving. She has literally styled me tonight. This is all her. So we're wearing Lorraine Schwartz bangles and bracelets, same with the earrings. She's also here tonight, and I'm really excited to thank her in person because, I mean, it's insane. I have no words. And then we have Oscar De La Renta here. Blake was able to pull it for me, and then I got it tailored, so I feel like a dream. It's crazy. And then I am wearing her shoes. These are Blake's from her closet. They're Louboutins. We are the same size. I know, what a coincidence. I mean, there was already enough happening, and then it was like, oh, we also could share shoes, which I love.
And I know you've said that you've literally ran from your job at a restaurant in New York to go to the Book Bonanza.
I actually didn't even make it to my job that day. I literally was at home getting ready, and then I got a call from Colleen Hoover being like, could you come to Dallas, please? And I was like, hey guys, I have to go. And thankfully they were supportive.
Well, fans might be surprised to hear that you work at a restaurant while also starring in this movie. So can you tell me a little bit about living that double life?
Yeah, I mean, we had a strike, so I wrapped my bit before the strike, and then after that, we had a lot of time. And I grew up here. I'm from here. I actually don't hate working in restaurants. I think it's fun, and you meet a lot of cool, interesting people. So, and the restaurant I worked at, Bar 56 in Dumbo, it's across from St. Anne's Warehouse, is an amazing restaurant. Anybody should go, and I will be going back soon. So, yeah.
And what was it about Lily's character that you thought was most important to get across when you were interpreting her?
Oh, I think there's not even one. I think it's her multifacetedness. You know, she isn't just one thing. She's strong and then vulnerable. She's like masculine and feminine. You know, she has so many different parts to her, and it's just so exciting to be able to, as an actor, like play a part that has such depth to it, and also having a literal book that like I can reference from, you know? That's like a dream. It's amazing, yeah.
So you and Isabella have both talked about how nice it's been to be able to trust each other as you came into this process. How did you guys build that trust up between you?
Yeah, so I think it was our second day meeting. I was living upstate New York, and we were rehearsing in New Jersey. And I have like a little teardrop trailer that I needed to go pick up and move because I was like moving back into New Jersey to film this. And we didn't have much time. We had like one day and then we were filming. So I was like, hey, you're at the hotel. You're not going to go back home. Would you want to like just like hang out and talk? And I'm going to drive upstate. And so we drove upstate. She said she was game for it, which is amazing, like super spontaneous.
And you play a much more vulnerable version of Atlas in his younger self. What do you hope that male viewers might be able to take away from Atlas's vulnerability in your performance?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're always told to be, you know, I've been told as a man, like we got to not show any emotion and be the toughest one and always pretend like everything's okay. And like for me, when I've done that, it doesn't always work out good for me. Like it builds up and then people can just read my facial expressions anyway. So I think like what acting has taught me and characters like Atlas is like the more you can open up to someone and connect with someone, the deeper that relationship's going to be, and the more you're actually going to find connection. And that's what we all want. That's what Atlas needs desperately. And I think that's how him and Lily bond.
What was it like for you to adapt both a fan-beloved book, but also a deeply personal story for the book's author, for the screen? What kind of pressures came with that?
There was a lot of external pressure because this book is so beloved. There was a lot of expectation around it. But there was a lot of internal pressure too. I love this book. I'm a fan of this book, and I love Colleen. Colleen is one of the greatest humans out there, and she's telling stories that matter, and she's telling stories from the heart. And so I probably put most of the pressure on myself to make sure that she was happy. She was my North Star all the way.
How did you overcome some of that pressure?
Honestly, it felt good to have her really activated throughout the process. She actually is the one who endorsed me even being hired in the first place. Wayfair Studios presented me as the writer of their choice, and she and I had a beautiful Zoom together. She was in Texas, I was in LA at the time, but we bonded because I'm from Oklahoma. And so we started talking, Midwestern gals, bonding basically. And but there was a lot of trust built in. We were already speaking the same language. And at the end of that Zoom, she said, "Christy's our girl." I felt like I'd won the lottery. But honestly, she read the drafts. She'd give notes. There was this incredible day where we brought fans in. This was early on, before we were at Sony, before any cast got involved. We had fans come in and read the draft, and then we did a round table with them and gauged their thoughts. Me and Colleen sitting right next to each other. Her mother was there as well. And that was a really wonderful day where not only did Colleen want to get it right, but we both wanted to make sure that we were doing well by the fans as well. So I think a lot of care went into it. Every detail. There was no decision that was made lightly.
Why do you think this story in particular has been so resonant with readers for so long now?
I honestly don't know. I sadly think maybe it's because so many people relate to the subject matter, which is really sad. But I think people that read the book have either been through it or know someone who's been through it, so they find it relatable in a way, and that's an unfortunate thing.
And while there are lots of people who love this book, there are also people who take some issue with it and say that it's romanticizing abuse. What do you say to that?
I find Lily's journey empowering and honest and truthful, and the fact that she doesn't make all the right decisions, that's storytelling to me, so I don't really know.
And this movie and story at the end of the day is also about chasing childhood dreams. What was your wildest childhood dream growing up?
To write a book, and now look.
I think wanting to be an actor is a pretty wild dream. I also really wanted to be a professional baseball player.
I really want to one day do a movie where I'm in New Zealand and I'm riding on a horse. I'm a big nerd for Lord of the Rings and fantasy stuff that really just came out of my honest self.
I always wanted to become a professional writer, and so to walk a carpet like this with someone like Colleen, with the likes of Blake, it is I'm living my dream come true. So to all of you out there, follow your dreams, don't give up.
We're here at the London premiere of Bob Marley One Love. This is the first ever authorised biopic of Bob Marley, and all the stars are here. His son is here, so let's see who we can chat to. You look amazing. Wow. My name's Clodagh. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations on this film. How are you feeling today?
Great. Very giddy.
Yeah.
Very giddy.
And a bit cold.
And a bit cold. That's probably what the giddiness is. I'm just freezing.
Yeah. Tell me about making this movie. It must have been such an exciting role to prepare for.
It really was. It was different. This was, I prepared quite a few roles over the last 10 plus years. This one was its own unique thing, its own individual experience, because I felt like, I'm playing a real person. I'm of Jamaican descent. We're representing a legend. There's
No pressure.
No pressure at all. And it's that pressure that I really had to throw away at the beginning and just sit in the fact that, myself and Kingsley and everyone involved, we are vessels now.
Yeah, you're here, you're deserving.
Yeah, we got the role for a reason. So, and the family trusted us.
Yeah.
They
And you
saw
smashed it.
Thank you.
I would love to know, is there a particular word or a phrase that you use to really snap into character?
Ooh, you know what? Not a word or a phrase, but the head wraps. The head wraps for me was my entry point. We made that almost like a spiritual practice in hair and makeup every morning. And there's something about putting a head wrap on that's like this tall that made me feel regal. And it's that regality that Mrs. Marley has that I needed to tap into in order to represent her well.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with me and have fun inside.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Hi, so nice to meet you.
Nice to
I'm
meet
Clodagh.
you.
How are you? I might get you to just here. Is that all good? Okay, congratulations on this film. It's
Thank
just
you.
spectacular. I would love to know about preparing for this character and kind of the pressure you felt from that. Was Bob with you through that?
Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, I check in with. I feel like I spent the last 2 years with Bob.
Yeah.
I auditioned, and within a week, I was with the family.
Yeah.
And I knew that the family were trying to make a movie that shared a more personal side to Bob with his fans and to people who don't know him.
Yeah.
And as an actor, I was like, that sounds really interesting, and I'd love to help, If there were any nerves, it was kind of before the audition. I just wanted everyone to be clear.
Yeah.
I don't sing, I don't dance, I don't speak Jamaican patois, and there's a lot of work to do. And I just wanted them to know that. I also wanted them to know that I'm 6'2", Bob's 5'7", and the agreement or the feeling was this was always just trying to tap into his spirit, because you can't copy Bob, can't mimic him, he's one of a kind. So for me, the movie feels like a love letter from the family to their dad.
I love that. And it comes out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Was there a particular word or catchphrase that kind of got you into the character right before they said action?
Yeah, but it's a rude word and I can't say it.
Go on, I can take it.
I can't. Nah, so many.
Yeah.
Bob's got so many lines, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously, Jamaica is such a small nation, but it's made such a massive impact on the world, from Bob Marley to food to culture. Why do you think that is?
If you want to go into history, I think we just come from a rebellious people, in a sense that you can't force us to do anything. But if it's something that we want to do, that same energy and rebellious nature, it will be powered and pushed into something creativity. Music is about a beat, it's a rhythm. Yeah. And the rhythm of being Jamaican is all about just pushing yourself forward. And no matter where you come from, no matter the hardships you come from, just striving forward and making the best of it.
We got a lot of love from Africa, and we curated our own, vibe in Jamaica, what we had to share with the rest of the world. It's a beautiful place, When you go there, you feel the love, you feel the temperature, you see the waters, you wake up every day and it's a beautiful smile on your face. That's why Bob Marley has a song, Smile in Jamaica.
I just think they were true to themselves, and they was putting that stuff that they felt strongly about and passionate about, and I think it just resonated with the world. And sometimes certain themes are universal, and I think they just tapped into that, and that's what they focus on. And here we are, like many years later, and Jamaica is like one of the most influential places out there, so yeah.
In your opinion, what's the most underrated Bob Marley song?
Ooh, that is a tough question. Most underrated Bob song. Stir It Up.
Stir It Up.
Stir It Up, yeah. Underrated. We'll be forever loving Jah. Find that one.
Okay, you can sing as well.
I'm a singer, yeah.
A lot of people don't know this one because it's on the extended version of Exodus, and it's called Roots. Have you heard that one?
No, I haven't.
It goes like this. Root, not the roots. Dread, kingy dread. And he goes, hold on. I the roots. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Have fun inside.
Yeah, nice.
Congratulations, you too. Thank you so much for speaking to me today,
no
and congratulations on this film. You were in a producer role and a starring role. I mean, no pressure, but it's kind of like your name behind this. How does it feel kind of getting it into the world now?
Well, the film isn't finished really until the audience sees it, I think, so we're very excited for it to come out November 1st. Go see it.
Yeah. And obviously your first time producing a feature film. How was that different to producing the TV show Peaky Blinders?
I loved it. To me, it's a lot about putting the right people together, and a lot of the people on this film are very, very old, dear friends of mine. Tim Millian's our director. We've worked together 3 times, and Ende, who just saw theirs, I've known him for like 30 years. So, and then the producer Alan Maloney, we've made 5 films. So it was a lot of people that I love and respect getting to work together, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, why is that important to have people close to you nearby?
Because you have a real level of trust, I think, immediately, and you need trust when you're going to make work that's quite vulnerable, I think.
And just finally, what kind of conversations do you hope this starts? I know we've come a long way since then, but church and state, there's still a lot to do.
There's a lot to do, and I think it's not, at this point, I don't think it's about blame, really. I think it's about understanding. Do you know what I mean? I hope it gets people talking, because silence was the thing that did for us, It was the silence, and we just can't have silence anymore.
I think you're getting a lot of praise for putting your name behind this and getting the education out there, so thank you very much.
Oh, pleasure, yeah. I'm delighted.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you very much. I'm Clodagh, so nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm really good and so excited to see that this movie that Champions Ireland is doing. And you're yes. So obviously you've just been in a show with Andrew Scott, and now you've filmed a movie in Ireland. Do you think we might hear you in an Irish accent?
You never know, you never know. Yeah. I have a lot of Irish friends. I just did one of my closest friends is Eve Hewson, and we did something together last year, and Jack Rayner was also in that. He played, so I'm like Ireland all the way. And this is my second time working in Dublin, so I have a lot of friends there.
Oh my gosh, you're so into culture.
I really am. I really am. Yeah.
And something that I was thinking when I was thinking about this movie, The Watched, is kind of, by these beings that you can't see.
The window on the other side. They come every night. And they watch us. What is that? What are they doing? Applause. For you mean it.
Is it almost in a way, and now this could be a stretch, but kind of like being famous? Right. Where it's like all these people are looking at you, you don't really know who they are.
Yeah. I think that as something that I liked about the film, there's, sort of metaphors for who watches and who's watching and who's the watcher and who's being watched and all of that stuff. And I think as a society, we're all kind of dealing with that. What is privacy? What does it mean to watch this content? It's like I look at people on Instagram and they're not actors, they're not famous, but I know all about their kids. You know what I mean?
They're watching.
And I am watching, and they, I think, want me to, So I think, in the world, we're kind of dealing with all of that.
We're all in our own little coop.
We're all in our own little coop. Yeah, exactly. Our phones are like a weird version of a coop or something.
How long have you been here? I don't know.
You've never seen one.
No one sees one and survives.
The last thing I wanted to show you was, I'm not sure if you've seen, but you're actually going really viral on TikTok.
Oh my God, I've seen
Have
it.
you seen this meme?
Yeah.
This is so good. And it's almost like...
News flash. You're not gonna.
I'm obsessed with it. And I'm always thinking, can we use this as promo for the movie? You're not going to see her.
Exactly, it's true. I love the Uptown Girls sort of resurgence that's happening at the moment. I think it's nostalgic for a lot of people kind of in our age, and so it's really cool to see.
Amazing, and best of luck with the release. Thank you so much for speaking with me, and I can't wait for that next project. Thank you.
We're here at the New York premiere of Back to Black, the new Amy Winehouse biopic starring Marissa Abela and Jack O'Connell and plenty more, who are about to walk the black carpet behind us before the screening of the movie. Can't wait to talk to them. I would love to hear a little bit about the vocal training that you went through for this role. What was that like?
There's a difference with the studio recording of Rehab to the moment that Amy sang Rehab at the Grammys when she wasn't allowed into America. And she just come out of rehab herself and she just won 5 Grammys. That feels different. There's a fierceness to that performance that you can't really find in the studio recording. So I needed to be able to emulate that. So it was, it was internal sort of work as an actor, but also, I trained for 2 hours a day, every day for 4 months as a singer, learning, I guess how to sing like Amy.
She came to us and said that she wasn't a singer, and actually she didn't play guitar, but she worked with our guitar tutor Ben Parker to learn the pieces. She worked really hard and closely with Anne-Marie Speed, who was a vocal coach, and over many months just really sort of found her voice and embodied the spirit of Amy.
How did you personally navigate some of the challenges of telling and the ethics of telling what is ultimately a really tragic story for yourself?
I think that, it's an important question as to whether it is an ultimately incredibly tragic story. I think the truth is that the legacy that Amy leaves behind, I think, is her music. And I think that it was important to us as creatives to honor her in the sense of she's a young woman, before the age of 25, she wrote 2 albums. One was Frank, a huge success in the UK and amongst many music fans, and the other one, Back to Black, is an album that changed the world. And I think that the story for a long time has become a voyeuristic one about the tragedy of her downfall, and I think that we felt it was really important to give her some power back, in the intensity of her truthfulness as an artist. Of course, in her personal story, there's a lot of tragedy. So that's up to me to find out the root of that. There is symptom of something deeper, and it was up to me to discover what the deeper thing was, and try and bring the desire forward. So if it's that Amy wants to be loved and doesn't want to be alone, and doesn't want to feel pain, then it's that I'm playing rather than someone that needs to numb themselves with whatever it is,
You've said that you don't see this movie entirely as a biopic. It's a love story. But biopic or not, it's being received as that way by a lot of people. How important is it to you to get some of those historically, realistically accurate depictions in this type of film?
I mean, the thing was that I had so much resource material, there was so much footage that we could, mirror and emulate. And then there's also, behind closed doors, recreating the conversations between her and Blake, for example, where we had to just go off of what she wrote in her songs as emotionally what she was feeling in those moments, and then to try and reflect that as close as possible to that.
I want to be a mom.
And how do you personally navigate the ethics of telling what can be a really tragic story?
I had to be very, very sensitive, and I had to walk a very fine line. And it was something that I took on as a responsibility, and would stand in the moment each day and just think, what would she feel about how I'm reflecting this moment?
Why, in your opinion, is it important to tell Amy and her family's story in this way at this point in time?
Because I think it's right to take back the narrative, to celebrate Amy, to celebrate her brilliance, and to challenge the narrative that she was a victim in some way. She wasn't a victim, she was an incredibly strong woman. But when women die of drug abuse, they're always infantilized. People always say, well, it's because the men did this or did that. And they take away the autonomy of Amy. Amy had lots of autonomy, lots of self-volition. And we should celebrate her, because that's what made her a brilliant artist.
I think it was a story that needed a bit of distance from her death and her life. But I think that all the elements came together for this film. Sam being a friend of hers and the producers, it was just kind of turned into a bit of a powerful mix, because it's not an easy film to bring out. Everyone has their own opinions about Amy, and it had to be a film with a lot of power behind it, and I think that is this film.
I would call Amy like a co-writer of this. I really think I've used a lot of her words, obviously all her lyrics, but some classic interview lines and how she felt made the research process a lot easier than it would have been.
I'm Clodagh, such a pleasure to meet you. How are you? I'm good, thank you. Very good to be meeting you as well. You're absolutely fantastic in this. Just looking a bit into you, I can see that you're really passionate about music, in particular one of your many hobbies. Just so curious to know, have you made any music inspired by this movie, and what were you listening to when you're on set?
Oh, that's such a great question. I mean, it was a long time ago when I made this movie,
Okay.
and what I tend to do is shift gears when I'm playing a character. So if it's incongruous to my work, I shut out a lot of contemporary music, so I'm sure I was doing that on this.
Some 1940s.
Yeah, I
maybe,
did listen
yeah.
to, I know I probably listened to a lot of Al Bowley or things of that era, kind of sweetness and a formality and a kind of gentleness of another time. And definitely there's really beautiful Hungarian folk music that my mother cherishes, that reminds her of her parents and of that other time, and I've listened to some of that. I've also spent a lot of time listening to the dialect of people from that era. So I didn't really have much time to listen to music. I was spending a lot of my energy absorbing the distinct qualities in the dialect, and it's a very specific accent.
I would for sure listen to a playlist that you would make of all that Hungarian folk
It would be
music.
great. It is lovely music.
It's so touching how close this is to you personally, and your mother being a Hungarian immigrant to America. Has making this movie kind of made you look at her story any differently? Is there anything you might have learned about her? Or
It's made it even more intimate to me. Just this morning, my mother wrote me a lovely letter about remembering my grandmother's sacrifices. I often speak about my grandfather and how these similarities of what I was yearning to honor him, of what I recalled. But my grandmother spoke 5 or 6 languages, and because she was able to decipher all the myriad paperwork and complications of their passage through Vienna, being refugees, and ultimately gaining permission to come to the United States, that was because of her ability to read in English and to get work and support them. There's a lot of loss and hardship, but a lot of hopefulness, and it's led to quite a beautiful life. My mother is a very esteemed photographer and very well respected by many, and has been a guiding light in my career. But it's only brought me closer to my parents, both my parents. They're very moved by
she's
this.
so proud.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking with me, and best of luck. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. I'm Clodagh. Huge congratulations on this film.
Oh, thank
Your character
you.
had me crying and smiling, and she was just amazing. How was it particularly getting into the accent for you? What was kind of the references there?
Well, it was a huge challenge. It was a little bit intimidating at first, suddenly reading oh my gosh, I've got to learn Hungarian and I've got to speak in a Hungarian accent. So I just quickly got to my desk and got practicing. And
Duolingo, was it?
Yeah, exactly. Listening to anything I could. I had a great reference, actually, of a Hungarian woman who had had a similar experience to Erzsébet. And so I listened to that endlessly on my earphones, and I was on this film actually 2 years before we actually shot, so I had lots of time to kind of mentally prepare myself.
Was there any kind of like phrase that got you into the accent or the language?
Well, kusunum is thank you, and that was always
a lovely
kusunum.
one.
Yeah. So it's always a useful one to have as well.
Yeah, exactly, for visiting. You're also in a wheelchair for most of this. How
Yes.
was that, kind of practicing in the chair and everything?
Well, Erzsébet is suffering from malnutrition from the war, so when we meet her, she is very physically weak, and we see throughout the second half her health actually improving. But it was actually again it was fascinating to understand how to show that, how to convey that on screen, how to show that progression. A lot of my preparation was in understanding her movements and then gradually shifting those movements depending on how her health was doing.
I've been told to wrap up, but congratulations on the BAFTA as well.
Thank you very
and best
much.
of luck.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
It was good news.
Your look in this is amazing. It's quite camp almost, with like the heavy eyeliner and like the blush. What was it like putting that on every day?
I just think those details show you who a person is, but they also, as an actor, it comes from the inside, so they make you feel like that person. I loved every ring I wore.
Was it a wig?
Yeah, beautiful hair team that has worked with these Italian brothers, actually, who are such geniuses and have worked with really a bunch of times. So it was really fun to build that.
You're not tempted to dye it?
Maybe. You have a great shade of red.
Yeah.
We looked at like every color, every shade of red until we found the right one for the hair.
It's the main man himself, it's Paul Mescal. Great to see you, Paul. But listen, I was talking to the two guys about the time you had together in Austin. How valuable was that to you? And did you at all use sport to get in the mindset of a gladiator going up to this?
Yeah, I played a lot of Gaelic football growing up, but also like to be in the paddock for Austin, like I hope I surprised the boys with a little bit of my knowledge for it. I was asking them hopefully nerdy questions. But yeah, like in any context with any sport, I love to kind of get a peek behind the curtain, and these two are some of the best in the game, so yeah, it's pretty special.
I mean, you are a proper follower of F1. How up to date are you?
Right up to date. Right up to date.
I remember you guys had to interrupt us because we had so many free questions to ask each other.
I was asking them for their setups for a start, and they wouldn't tell me.
We were asking how many people you have in such a big production, such a big film. Like we were having all of these conversations, and you guys kept interrupting us.
Yeah, very rude.
Rally fan always, or what's your F1 interest? Is it across the board? Are you always?
It's across the board, but I'm with the two boys, so we're Team Scuderia. I'm going to be there at in Las Vegas, so I'm incredibly excited for that race.
What does it feel like getting signed on to a Ridley Scott movie?
I couldn't believe it was happening, really. I felt very grateful. It's weird, being an actor, you know, you spend a lot of time not acting. But I've been very lucky in the periods when I have been acting to work with people like Tim Burton and Sir Ridley Scott and Paul King. So, I loved every minute of it. It was very, very, very hot when we filmed. But what I had to go through was nothing compared to what Paul and Pedro and all the other gladiators had to go through, and also the crew as well. It was quite tough out there in Malta, but the results are amazing, and I'm so proud to be a small part of it.
And Ridley's obviously a genius, and his feedback comes thick and fast, and it's always welcome, I'm sure. What was the best bit of feedback that he gave you?
More, just do more, bigger and louder.
And just lastly, is there anything that the Romans used to do that you think we should bring back?
Yeah, I think they used to eat mice. Let's go back to that.